Ever get that feeling, like you just dodged a bullet?
Yeah.
Like a really close call.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, that's what today's deep dive is all about. Someone who dodged a bullet. Literally. Thanks, Go. Well, it's kind of spooky, actually. A mysterious figure and a collapsing ceiling.
Wow. Sounds intense.
It is. Pretty wild story. We're diving into the story of Marta. She was working late one night at her office.
Okay.
Just normal, average office building, nothing fancy.
Right, right.
It was late. City's all quiet outside. She's just plugging away at some reports.
Peaceful, right? It's pretty peaceful, yeah.
Until it isn't. This is where things go from ordinary to totally extraordinary. While Marta's feeling like she's the only one up working, turns out she's not alone.
Oh, someone else was working late, too.
Not exactly. Whoever or whatever was there with her might be the reason she's alive to tell the tale. See, Marta starts noticing something out of the corner of her eye. Movement at the window. Right. At first she just figures it's her eyes playing tricks, being tired and all. But then it happens again, clearer this time. There's a shadowy figure just standing outside the window.
You're kidding. What did it look like?
It was tall and indistinct. And the weirdest thing was it almost seemed to be glowing.
Glowing. Like a ghost or something.
It's hard to say, but there was definitely something off about it. No, I don't know about you, but if I saw that, I'd be hitting the panic button.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
But here's the strange part. Marta, she felt this sense of calm mixed with the unease,
That's so bizarre. It's like our brains are wired for fight or flight in those situations, but she's getting .com.
Yeah, it's like a deeper instinct kicked in, like maybe a curiosity or something.
I wonder if that's a common reaction to the completely unknown.
Could be. So Marta, being a lot braver than me, actually gets up and walks towards the window to get a better look.
Wow, I would have been out of there.
Right. But this figure, it doesn't react at all. Just stands there. But now it's pointing insistently at the door. Not in a threatening way or anything. More like a silent command to leave.
Like it was trying to tell her something.
Exactly. And for some reason, Marta feels compelled to obey. Like she has to leave right now.
It's almost like those stories you hear about animals sensing danger before humans do.
Right. Makes you wonder, why not just communicate directly? Maybe say, hey, get out of there.
Yeah, why all the cryptic gestures? Maybe a warning would have been too easily dismissed. I mean, who'd believe someone saying the ceiling's about to cave in, right?
Good point.
Yeah.
It's like this figure knew exactly how to get Marta's attention without freaking her out completely.
I guess so.
So she starts walking towards the door. And as soon as she steps out of the office, poof, the figure vanishes.
Just like that.
Gone, like it was never there. And then things go from strange to downright terrifying. She's only a few steps from the elevator when, bam!
What happened?
The ceiling of her office caves in. This huge crash, debris and dust flying everywhere. The spot where she was sitting just moments ago is completely destroyed.
I got chills just hearing that.
It's pretty chilling, isn't it? I mean, if she hadn't left when she did,
She wouldn't have stood a chance. What are the odds?
it really makes you think, was it just blind luck or something more? I mean, the timing was just too perfect.
Yeah, I'm not usually one for the supernatural, but it's hard to explain that away as just coincidence.
Right. Of course, Marta is understandably shaken up by the whole experience. But she can't shake this feeling, this certainty that something extraordinary happened. So she starts digging, reading about guardian angels, divine intervention, anything that could explain what she went through. And you know what?
Glad.
She finds tons of similar stories online. Accounts of people being saved from all sorts of disasters by these mysterious figures who vanish just as quickly as they appear.
It's like a universal archetype, isn't it? The mysterious protector appearing just when needed.
Yeah, almost like a shared human experience, even if it is unexplainable.
Makes you think maybe there's more to this world than we can see or understand.
Definitely. And for Marta, these stories, they become a lifeline, a way to process her own experience and grapple with the possibility that she was saved by something beyond human comprehension. But it's not just her thoughts that change after this. Her whole life takes a turn.
How so?
She quits her job, the one she was working on that fateful night, and starts focusing on things that bring her joy. Like, she used to love painting, but hadn't done it in years.
Wow. Like she was given a second chance and decided not to waste it.
Exactly. It's like she finally realized life is too short, Got to do what makes you happy.
Absolutely.
But there's one more piece to this story, one that really gets to me. Remember that office building? The one that's now a pile of rubble?
Yeah.
Well, Marta eventually goes back.
Yeah.
Something draws her there. even though it brings back a lot of difficult emotions. And while she's looking through the wreckage, she finds something incredible.
What did she find?
A single white feather. Perfect. Untouched by all the dust and debris.
No way. Like a sign.
It's hard to say, but you gotta admit, it's pretty strange. And for Marta, having gone through this whole ordeal, finding that feather is like tangible proof, you know?
Yeah, I can see how it would be.
It reinforces her belief that something bigger than herself, something beyond explanation, was looking out for her. And it leads us to a bigger question. Why do we, as humans, crave these symbols? These physical reminders of events that just don't make sense?
That's a good question. Maybe it's about needing something real, something we can hold to help us connect with the unexplainable. Or maybe it's about finding meaning in chaos, something to hold on to when our world gets turned upside down.
It's almost like we need that physical proof to bridge the gap between what we know and what we can't explain.
Exactly. And in Marta's case, that simple feather becomes incredibly significant. It becomes this bridge between the world she thought she knew and a world where anything is possible, even miracles.
You know what? That's a perfect place to take a break. We'll be right back after a short word from our sponsors.
Sounds good. Like, our minds, they need something tangible to connect with, to grasp something that feels so out of reach. Finding that feather and all that mess, it must have been powerful for her, you know?
Totally. It's like needing proof a dream wasn't just a dream, something to touch, to hold on to. And this is where things get really interesting, at least for me. I mean, if she hadn't gone back, hadn't found that feather, would you've still believed? Would you have just, chalked it up to being lucky and moved on?
That's a good question. It makes you think about how we form our beliefs, right? How much comes from what we see, what we can prove.
Absolutely. That feather, for Marta, it's like it's cemented everything, made it real. It's like that saying, one person's trash is another's treasure. But in this case, it's more like one person's random debris is another's divine message.
Exactly. That feather becomes a symbol, a powerful one. It becomes this link between the world she thought she knew and this world where, well, where the impossible seems possible.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is. And from a psychological standpoint, it's fascinating. Put yourself in Marta's shoes for a second. You've gone through something terrifying, but you survived. And now you find something, a physical object, that supports this supernatural explanation. How does that change the way you see things?
I think for a lot of people, it would be a real struggle to reconcile that with their existing beliefs, especially if you've always been a skeptical person. Imagine having your whole understanding of the world just shattered.
Totally. And it goes beyond just believer versus skeptic, you know? It's about how we, as humans, make sense of the world. We have these filters, these biases that shape how we interpret everything.
So someone who's inclined to believe in guardian angels, they might see Marta's story as confirmation. But someone who's very scientifically minded, they might dismiss it as coincidence, no matter how unlikely.
Exactly. It's all about perspective. But is there room for both? Can we acknowledge the possibility of the unexplained without throwing logic out the window?
Right, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. And one that's been debated for centuries. I think it comes down to being humble, admitting that we don't have all the answers, that there are things out there, things we might not fully understand, maybe ever.
So you're saying it's okay to be open to the unknown, to consider that there might be forces at work beyond our current scientific understanding.
I think so. And Marta's story, it's a powerful example of that. Whether you believe in guardian angels or just incredibly good luck, there's a lesson there. It reminds us that there might be more to this world than meets the eye, that reality might be a lot more complex, a lot more mysterious than we think.
I like that. It's almost a comforting thought in a way.
It can be. So what's the biggest takeaway here? What can our listeners learn from this story?
Good question. Even if we haven't had a near-death experience or seen a mysterious figure, is there something applicable to our everyday lives?
I think so. Maybe the most important thing is to pay attention, to be present, you know? To notice those little nudges, those synchronicities, those things that seem small but could be guiding us, protecting us. Like, what if there's a deeper meaning hidden in all the everyday stuff? What if it's just waiting to be discovered?
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
Well,
Even without the supernatural element, Marta's story is about trusting your gut, listening to that inner voice that's trying to tell you something.
exactly. And about being open to the unexpected. Life throws curveballs, good and bad. But sometimes those tough experiences, the ones that really shake us up, those are the ones that change us for the better. open us up to new possibilities.
It's like the growth through adversity, right?
Exactly. So let's bring it back to our listeners. Imagine you're in Marta's place. You've had this brush with fate, found that impossible feather in the wreckage. How would you interpret it? Would it change how you see the world, your place in it? Big questions, for sure. And I think the answer is going to be different for everyone. It depends on what you believe, what you've experienced, how open you are to the unknown. But just asking the question, considering the possibility of something beyond what we know, that's a powerful step.
It is, and I think that's something we can all do, regardless of our beliefs. Just be open to the possibility that there might be more out there than we realize.
Yeah, it really is. Everyone's going to have their own interpretation. No right or wrong answer when it comes to these things, I guess.
Exactly right. It's about finding what resonates with you, with your own experiences. It's personal.
Totally. And if we zoom out a little, Marta's story, it kind of forces us to look at our own assumptions about what's possible, what's real, you know? Like, are we just these biological machines in a totally material world? Or is there something more going on? That's a huge question, right? I mean, science is great at explaining the how, but the why, that's a whole different thing.
It is. And for a lot of people, that why is essential. It gives life meaning. It helps us through hard times. It offers hope when things are uncertain.
Absolutely. Whether that why comes from religion, spirituality, or just, I don't know, a sense of awe about the universe, it's a big part of what makes us human. It connects us to something bigger than ourselves, something that goes beyond our little individual lives.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Marta's encounter, let's go back to that question we started with. Ever feel like you dodged a bullet? Well, Marta did, literally. But her story is about so much more than that. It's about intuition, the mystery of the unexplained, and how we can all change, transform even, after something big happens. It's a reminder that even when things are scary, uncertain, there's still room for hope, for growth, for understanding ourselves and the world around us a little better.
And it leaves us with a final question, something to think about. What if those little nudges we get, those gut feelings, those weird coincidences, what if those are actually glimpses into something bigger, something beyond ourselves?
Whoa, that's a pretty profound thought.
Yeah.
Like, what if we're surrounded by these unseen forces, guiding us, protecting us, maybe even trying to tell us something?
Right. What if we just need to figure out how to listen?
Makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you want to pay a little more attention to those moments where something just feels right, or even a little off.
It does, because who knows, maybe the next time you get that feeling, it'll lead you away from something bad or towards something amazing.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Hope it gave you all something to think about, maybe even sent a little shiver down your spine.
A little mystery is always a good thing.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your eyes open. You never know what you might find hiding in plain sight.